What if the thing making your life feel safe is actually the thing quietly destroying your potential? Your comfort zone feels good. It's familiar, predictable, safe. You know what tomorrow looks like. You know what you're going to do. You know what you're going to avoid. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because a life that never challenges you can slowly become a life that never changes. You don't notice it at first. One day becomes another. You keep the same routine, the same job, the same friends, the same excuses, the same fears. And eventually, you wake up years later asking, how did I get here? The uncomfortable truth is that your comfort zone doesn't usually destroy your life overnight. It does something much more subtle. It makes staying the same feel better than becoming better. Today, we're going to explore why your comfort zone can become toxic, how it quietly limits your potential, and what you can do to finally break out. 1. Comfort feels safe, but safe isn't always good. Let's start with something important. Your comfort zone isn't automatically bad. Rest is good. Routine is good. Stability is good. Having a peaceful life is good. The problem begins when comfort becomes avoidance. You stop doing things because they make you uncomfortable. You don't apply for the job because you might get rejected. You don't start the business because you might fail. You don't approach the person because they might say no. You don't speak up because someone might disagree. You don't change careers because starting over feels scary. So you tell yourself, I'm just being realistic. But sometimes realism is simply fear wearing a smarter outfit. You aren't necessarily protecting yourself. You may be protecting yourself from the possibility of failure, while also protecting yourself from the possibility of success. And that's the trap. Because every time you avoid something difficult, you get temporary relief. You feel better. But your brain learns something. Avoiding discomfort keeps me safe. So the next time the challenge appears, avoiding it becomes even easier, and your comfort zone gets smaller. 2. The comfort zone can kill your confidence. Here's the strange thing about confidence. Most people think confidence comes from thinking positively about yourself. But real confidence is often built through evidence. You tell yourself, I can handle difficult things. But how do you know? Because you've handled difficult things before. You've had uncomfortable conversations. You've survived failure. You've learned new skills. You've walked into situations where you didn't know what would happen. You've kept going when you wanted to quit. That's evidence. Now imagine the opposite. You avoid every difficult situation. You never test yourself. You never take risks. You never push beyond what's familiar. Eventually, you may start thinking, maybe I'm not capable. But you aren't necessarily incapable. You simply haven't given yourself enough opportunities to prove what you're capable of. That's why staying comfortable for too long can actually weaken your confidence. Not because comfort is inherently bad, but because confidence needs evidence. And evidence comes from action. 3. Your brain prefers familiarity over growth. Here's something fascinating about human behavior. Your brain often prefers what is familiar, even when the familiar thing isn't good for you. Think about an unhealthy routine. You know it's hurting you, but it's predictable, and predictable feels safer than uncertainty. That's why people sometimes stay in jobs they hate, stay in relationships that make them unhappy, continue unhealthy habits, remain around people who constantly bring them down. They know the situation, and the unknown feels more frightening. Your brain can basically say, at least I know what I'm dealing with. But there's a price for that familiarity. You may become so accustomed to your current life that you stop imagining anything different. That's when comfort becomes toxic. Not because you're relaxed, but because you've stopped asking, could my life be better? And that's a dangerous question to stop asking, because growth begins with possibility. 4. Your comfort zone is expensive. We often talk about the cost of taking risks, but let's talk about the cost of not taking them. You don't apply for the opportunity. You never know if you would have gotten it. You don't start the project. You never discover what it could become. You don't learn the skill. You never discover what doors it could open. You don't leave the unhealthy situation. You never find out what life could look like afterward. The cost of comfort is often invisible. There isn't a bill that arrives in the mail. Instead, you pay with time, and time is something you can never get back. Think about 5 years from now. You will be 5 years older regardless of what you do. The question is, will you have grown during those 5 years? Imagine meeting the future version of yourself. Would they thank you for taking the difficult steps? Or would they ask, why did you keep waiting? That's why discomfort can be an investment. You experience a little discomfort today to potentially create a much better life tomorrow. 5. Stop confusing peace with stagnation. This is where things get interesting. Sometimes people say, I just want peace, and there's nothing wrong with that. But peace and stagnation are not the same thing. Peace says, I am okay with where I am while continuing to grow. Stagnation says, I don't want to change because change makes me uncomfortable. You can have a peaceful life and still challenge yourself. You can have stability and still pursue bigger goals. You can love your current life and still want to improve it. Growth doesn't require hating who you are today. It requires believing that you are capable of becoming more. So don't destroy your peace just to chase success. But don't use peace as an excuse to avoid growth either. The goal isn't to live in constant chaos. The goal is to expand your comfort zone. 6. Start making discomfort normal. So how do you break out? Don't try to completely destroy your comfort zone tomorrow. That's not the goal. Instead, train yourself to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Start small. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Wake up a little earlier. Take the workout. Read something challenging. Learn a new skill. Speak to someone new. Apply for the opportunity. Post the idea. Ask the question. Do something that makes your brain say, maybe we shouldn't do this. And then do it anyway. Not recklessly, intentionally. Because every time you step outside your comfort zone and survive it, something changes. You learn, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Then you do something slightly harder. Then something harder again. Eventually, the thing that once terrified you becomes normal. That's how your comfort zone expands. Not through one giant leap, but through thousands of small acts of courage. 7. Become addicted to progress. Here's the mindset shift I want you to remember. Stop asking, how can I stay comfortable? Start asking, how can I grow? Because growth gives you something comfort never can. Proof. Proof that you can adapt. Proof that you can learn. Proof that you can recover. Proof that you can handle uncertainty. Proof that you're stronger than you thought. And once you experience that, you start seeing challenges differently. The difficult conversation becomes an opportunity. The failed attempt becomes feedback. The new environment becomes an adventure. The rejection becomes information. The unknown becomes a place where possibility exists. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I succeed? So here's the question I want you to take with you. Where has comfort become an excuse in your life? What are you avoiding? What conversation are you postponing? What opportunity are you afraid to pursue? What dream have you buried because trying would be uncomfortable? Be honest with yourself, because your comfort zone will always have a reason to stay exactly where you are. It will tell you, wait, it's not the right time. You're not ready. You could fail. But remember this, your life doesn't expand when everything becomes comfortable. It expands when you become capable of handling more. So don't run from discomfort. Use it. Let it teach you. Let it challenge you. Let it reveal what you're capable of. Because the goal isn't to live a life without fear. The goal is to build a life where fear doesn't make your decisions for you. This is Explained by Leo. Don't just accept the story. Understand it. And remember, your comfort zone may feel like home, but your future might be waiting just outside the door.